All right, y'all, we back at it again. Real quick update. I was talking to a database guy today, and basically what he was saying was, he was kind of breaking different things down on the fiscal year. Now, for this specific company, a financial firm, he was saying that when he was talking about the fiscal year ends, I think in October or November. So when it ends in October or November, that means they're doing all their hiring. They're looking to hire around this time. So they want to get a lot of people out the way within these next 60 days. So from an IT perspective, what I've noticed, now you're going to have to start looking 3 months or more in advance, because you're going to have to go through these interviews. They're wanting to start trying to bring people back in office. So you're going to have to start looking more than a month in advance. Now, contracts, sometimes they might work a lot faster. I'm working on a contract right now. I think it's like $30 an hour. And I think it's 32 W-2 and $30 an hour 1099. Now, I told y'all about getting those LLCs. If you do 1099, remember you got to set aside that 20% or 30% for taxes. But go ahead and get your LLC and your mileage, all of that kind of stuff. You write a lot of that stuff off. That's how you get past that. But what I will tell you, this position is with the Metropolitan Airport. So they're probably talking about Delta Airlines or just the airline company, which is like government based by itself. Now they'll have you do all these rigorous background checks. There's another position on Chicago Avenue that just came out as well. So I was looking at that. That only pays $20 an hour. The hospital don't want to pay nothing. But they make you get all these damn background checks and vaccines and all that. Now, once you get that experience, that's something you might want to look at. But if they having you require, they got a long list of all these damn jabs you got to have. You in the hospital. It says Chicago Avenue. So I said, why do they got all these vaccination requirements? That's probably for Hennepin County. That's probably for Hennepin County. So now, if you okay with all of those vaccination requirements, unless you have some kind of medical or religious exemption, I'm just being honest with you, that's what they're gonna want. Now, $20 an hour, that ain't really that much, but it's something that you might want to consider if you want to go towards that field. Once you get that and you're just gonna be replacing desktops, doing basic desktop support, it don't pay anything. But right now, let me tell y'all something. I don't know if you're paying attention to what's going on. I'm not trying to be the boogeyman, but something's going on. So all I can tell y'all is try to get your ducks in order. You may not be as picky as you were before. $20 an hour. I know it don't really pay anything. But I will tell you, when all said is done, IT and health will be the last to go. So if you do have all that paperwork with all the jabs, it might be something that you might want to consider. How much more do I got in this? Okay, I have to use that. I was supposed to go to Walgreens. It's something that you might want to consider. So when you have a situation, I should have went the other way. Yeah, that way I can rock with y'all. Really don't like being in traffic out this way. When you're going in the Matamida, the traffic is kind of getting a little bit worse, if you ask me. So, there was another position that came through, but I believe that's with somebody with 5+ years of ServiceNow consultant that pays $55 an hour. That might be a position that you would be interested in doing. But I deleted. I didn't know anybody that was heading out to Virginia or whatever the case it may be. But if you guys contact me and you want me to email, just post it in, put it in the chat or whatever. That might be something that you might want to take a look at. So I'm trying to think of any other position. Oh, there was another position. So now, this position, I was working with our good brother from North Carolina, that we were breaking down some of the job stuff and all that kind of things. He wanted me to, give my analysis on that. Oh, somebody calling. I took a phone call. So, real quick, before I run into the store real quick, another article that I just saw, and I'm going to really break this one down probably this weekend. They were talking about 300,000 black men, or 300,000 black women. They specifically said black. They didn't say black men. 300,000 black women were going to be losing, that have lost out on jobs. A lot of them have went into just maybe, I guess, motherhood and entrepreneurship and stuff like that. I noticed now, I'm going to look at this in a minute. They started talking about the DEI stuff, right? They tried to use that. That ain't really going to cut it. That's not really going to cut it. Because all of those are not so-called DEI jobs. That's what they were trying to say. Now, one thing that I noticed that the lady said, which was the dumbest piece of advice ever. They said, what advice do you have for young black women that are out of the workplace? And the response the lady had to give them was speak out. That's an emotional trauma bonding response. No, that's not the answer. That's not how we handle things. There's a physical action behind a physical problem. This is a mathematical problem. We are going to mathematically resolve this issue. We're not going to go into talking about how we feel. That's number one. So I want to talk about that. I really want to go in, but for the sake of time, I'm just going to go ahead and just leave it at that. But that's actually what this lady said. Speak out. Not change your resume. Not go to interest groups. Not build a coalition. I'm surprised she didn't say vote. It was starting to almost sound like we were going to go that route in a minute. Well, make sure you vote. Y'all won't believe this. Y'all will not believe, when you hear this video, you will not believe what you're hearing. But that's not the answer. The answer is something else. The first thing you do is you start looking at your skill set. That's the first thing you do. When you get laid off for the job or whatever like that, and you look at some of the comments, which I'm going to break that down. Some of the sisters was like, man, I ain't tripping. A lot of them probably had husbands or something like that. But all the ones belly aching and trauma bonding, man, that's not the answer. You don't want to talk to nobody like that. You want to talk to someone else that's actually trying to get something resolved. So we'll go over that in the weekend. I'll be posting some of these new gigs that came in because I'm about a bag. That's ultimately what I'm about. Yeah, so we'll be in touch in a minute.